What does happiness from within mean to you?
I love that question, because we had a bit of a conversation on that in our last conversation, and I believe that happiness really does come from within. It comes from you, from your body, from your soul, and from your mind. What you bring in to this world is what you're going to get more out of. Instead of looking externally for the things that are going to make you happy outside of your mind, body, and soul. Like, no, it's all inside.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another beautiful episode of Happiness from Within. I am so ecstatic that you guys are here. If you are new and connecting, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am beyond ecstatic for our guest. I have a really incredible young woman. Her name is Jen Lara. She's the founder and CEO of Her Empire Media. She's a best-selling author, speaker, podcast host, and she's actually going to be here to share her story. But before we start, we are going to do the Happiness from Within manifestation dance so you can start manifesting wherever you are. You ready? So what we're going to do, we're going to just stand up just for 30 seconds. Yes, you're going to stand up. You're going to move your hips.
I love that.
Left, move them to the right. And then pull your chest up. And what you're going to do is just move your body. And you're going to say, I receive, either out loud or in your head, and just moving your arms and your body, whatever feels right. There's not a perfect way to do it. Just feeling your body, feeling Mother Earth grounded. All right. And then you're going to shake, shake, shake. You're going to shake off what doesn't serve you. Boom. You got this. Okay. How does that feel?
I love that. I love to be active first thing in the morning.
Awesome. So I'll let you go ahead and put your headphones on if you want.
Yeah. And I had a hard time connecting them for some reason, but
Actually, you sound fine. You sound fine, actually.
okay, if it sounds fine, then let's do that.
Okay, perfect. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. I actually have Jen Lara here in front of me. How are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start. What does happiness from within mean to you?
I love that question, because we had a bit of a conversation on that in our last conversation, and I believe that happiness really does come from within. It comes from you, from your body, from your soul, and from your mind. What you bring in to this world is what you're going to get more out of. Instead of looking externally for the things that are going to make you happy outside of your mind, body, and soul. Like, no, it's all inside.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So tell us, where are you from?
I'm actually originally from Mexico. I live in Washington State now, and I've grown up here. So I guess I'm a little bit from Washington.
Oh, wow, man. So you guys, just a little background. So I actually just met Jen Lara. We met through the incredible platform, Facebook. And I just asked her straight out if she wanted to be on my podcast. So that's how that connection came. But no, we have a lot in common. It's just so interesting because if you don't mind me adding, my father is actually from Mexico. I'm not from Mexico, but my dad's side of the family is. So
That's amazing. Oh, that's where that Prado comes from, right?
wonderful. So Jen, tell us a little bit about how you started your business, or maybe what you did before then, or have you always been an entrepreneur? Like, I would love to hear like,
Sure.
how
Thank
that
you for
evolved.
asking that because people are always seem a little bit confused on like what is it that you do? Because I do so many things, and I think that I just had to come to terms with, I'm multi-passionate, and if people are a little bit confused, it's okay because I'm happy and I'm fulfilled with what I'm doing. So, you know, um, I do quite a bit of things. I have been coaching in the past. I've done money coaching, and then I recently pivoted to doing done for you services for coaches and consultants and service providers just because from my own experience, I felt like many people, they just don't need any more coaches and courses. What they need is support with getting their business running and scaling it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about her empire. I really love, 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 love the name of that. Like, what is it that you specialize? How do you help women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so it's through multiple things, as I mentioned. I do, like I said, the done for you services, and I publish books as well, specifically anthologies. I love the collaborative piece of working with other women and becoming partners versus, like, oh, my client. Um, but her empire is because, like I said, it's for the multi-passionate visionaries that want to leave a legacy and want to create an impact, and not just an impact, but also an income so that it's super aligned with their purpose, and just, like I said, inspire the rest of the world to know that they can do the same.
That's really beautiful. What would
Thank
you? Oh, you're welcome. What would you say is okay. Whatever you don't feel comfortable sharing, like it's totally fine. Like this is I always when I do these interviews, well, you have a podcast too. Actually, what's the name of your podcast? People
It's
can
actually Her Empire, Her Wealth.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Like, what kind of people do you interview?
it's similarly female entrepreneurs that want to inspire other women to know that they can do similar to what they're doing. Like for you, you help women and you inspire them to know that they can build happiness from within, right? That I feel like that falls on that umbrella of her empire, her wealth, right?
That's so incredible. What would you say is would you mind sharing maybe a challenge that you went through and maybe how you overcame it?
Of course. No, I'm all about the deep questions. I think recently, because I've just been experiencing it recently. Because I'm so multi-passionate, I have a really hard time like sticking to one thing, and maybe I find the thrill in being able to do different things and being able to explore different avenues and have different careers. And I feel like in this like kind of like the society kind of expects us to be an expert at one thing, and
Mm.
I just keep hearing it from everybody like, "Oh, you should just focus on one thing. You should just do that one thing." And I'm like, I can't even see myself doing just that one thing. Like I would like get so bored and like die, you know? And like I said, I think I really struggled with that because it made me feel like I wasn't an expert, and I really kind of was beating myself up about that a little bit. I was like, maybe I'm not, really good at anything because I have such a background in so many different things. It made me feel like I just wasn't, like really expertise at that one thing. And I said, you know what? I don't think that's even true. I realized this after I was having that conversation with myself, and like I said, kind of beating myself up about that. I had a coffee meeting the next day with this lady who invited me for coffee. And I thought we were just going to have coffee, but this lady came with a full agenda for this coffee meeting. She came and she asked me, she said, she has this financial services business. She's a super expert at that business, but she needs support with the tech side of things because that's not her strong suit.
Oh,
And she offered me like a partnership and commissions from her, from her sales and her deals. And I said, yes. And of course, that was a yes for me because I have a background in financial services, right? and and it made me realize that literally happened the day after I was beating myself up, and it made me realize, it's it's okay, to be knowledgeable in different things and be passionate about different things, because the universe brought me this lady that asked for a partnership because I'm knowledgeable in her field. She knows I am. We've worked on it, her in finance in the financial industry together in the past. Um, so I said maybe that's my expertise, is my ability to connect with others and my ability to form relationships and to be a resource for others because I have the resources in other areas, right? Because I care about so many different things. I'm like, okay, well, if you need help in this other area, then I have somebody that can support you with this or that can help you with this because of my connections and because I like to be able to connect with people with different backgrounds as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, I just wanted to make sense. I didn't lose you. I wanted to hear what your feedback.
No, I just want to commend you. You know, it's actually really deep what you shared. Because there's a lot of people that struggle with that. You know, I if you don't mind me adding, you know, something recently that I was struggling with too. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this book. Have you ever heard of Sahara Rose? She wrote this book called, anyway, she wrote this book called Discover Your Dharma, and I'm actually reading it right now. And
No,
anyway,
I've not read that, but that sounds amazing. And I talk about that in my content. I talk about like your business is your dharma, you know? Like what you're doing in your business, that's your dharma.
yeah, and I just wanted to say that you're a multifaceted being. Like, I love that you're just standing in your power. Like, it doesn't freaking matter what other people think. It's your life, your body, your choice, right?
Thank
Like,
you.
oh, you're welcome. Like,
That
there's
means a lot because like it keeps coming up for me, you know, even I think even just yesterday, one of my clients, she looked at my website and she said, it's kind of confusing. What is it that you do? Which I'm like, I'm a little confused why you're asking me that because you know that I do like 10 different things, you know?
and I think that's amazing because the thing is, it's like, it's not people's job to figure it out. The right people are going to come to you at the right time, at the right place, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful that you like to do a lot of things. I also like to do a lot of different things. Like, yes, I know I promote myself as a holistic health coach and I got a podcast. You know, a lot of people don't know that I also teach Spanish because I love it. I love it's
That's
super part
amazing.
time, but I love teaching Spanish, you know that. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
honestly, for years, I'm like, do I do this? Do I do that? You know, and but the thing is like one of the things I love about, if you don't mind me sharing, that she talks about is that our Dharma is not necessarily, it was just like, boom, it was like a light. And I wanted to share this with you, right?
No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, she talks about how Dharma is not just one thing, like it's always going to change, right? And I was like, that's all I needed to hear.
You know what? That definitely like clicked for me because I think that's another thing that I like was reflecting on recently was that I just keep changing these things, you know? I keep like, you know, like I started in financial services and I went to money coaching and then I went to, you know, like business coaching and now I'm doing done for you services, you know?
Yeah,
And I was like, I just keep like changing it and I'm like, I continue to change it and it's just, you know, it does get a little bit overwhelming and maybe I'm not where I want to be because of all the changes that I've made, but it's part of the process, right?
it is. It is. So yeah, my message to you is if there is any guilt, you as of this moment, you don't have to feel guilty anymore. So
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I definitely needed to hear that.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure somebody that's listening is going to relate exactly to your story. You know, you keep shining your light because you're a bright light for this planet and you have
Mm,
such a big mission and you're fulfilling it. And I think it's freaking awesome, you know? So
yeah, thank you. I love that coming from you, you know, and especially like what you're talking about, you know, your expertise about holistic wellness and your podcast on happiness from the inside, right? Like that's what it's all about. And like I said, it's fulfilling to me, you know.
so glad. Thank you. You know, I'll just can I share something with you just to since we're just I that's why I love doing these
Of
podcasts because
course, no,
it's about
share.
being authentic and real, right? Because if we're not,
Uh-huh.
like, what is the point, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't think like forever I want to be a holistic health coach. And like I was going between doing Spanish and like trying to do this job and you know, and I'm just like, well, right now this is what what sticks, you know? Um, but yeah, just like anyone listening and message to you too, Jen, is like, it's okay. Like that's the whole point is like we have to try different things, you know, and some things are gonna stick, some things are not, right? And
Yeah,
the only way we find ourselves. So
exactly.
that's what one
And
of
it
my
yeah.
go ahead,
It
please.
sounds like you're like me, right? Like you acknowledge that you're happy and fulfilled right now with what you're doing, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it forever. And it doesn't mean that you can't change route, you know?
Exactly.
And I
One
think that's okay. Like we're allowed to change direction as often as we need to and as often as we want to.
my next question for you is so especially as women, you know, we have a hard time sometimes. I think this is something we all struggle with at some point in our life. I mean, different times, you know, maybe it's every day even, you know, like being in our body. One of the things that I was been learning about is embodiment, like really being in our body. That's why I want to start actually doing that dance more at the beginning of the videos because I just, you know, as women, we hold a lot of trauma in our hips, right? Like all of us do, right? Like we all go through something in life, you know. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what works for you to feel embodied in your body?
Great
Like, there's
question.
no right or wrong answer. It could just be like, oh, walking, you know, like, but yeah, I'm just curious, like, what is it for you? It's different for everybody, you know? Like, what
No,
makes you
yeah.
feel like Jen Lara at your fullest capacity?
You know, I actually had this conversation with my therapist not too long ago, maybe a few months back. I was telling her that I was because, you know, as a person with ADHD,
Mm,
I just have a lot going on and I need to really balance my schedule, especially as an entrepreneur, right? Because you have the freedom to choose your schedule.
mhm.
I was like, I don't know how to organize myself in a way that works for me. And she said, you need to do it based on your energy levels. Like, when is your physical energy? When is your creative energy? You know? And I said, lady, you're right. I said, I feel the most physical in the morning. So I completely do not start my like workday or seeing clients or anything until the afternoon at like 2 p.m., which is kind of late for most people. But for me, like I like to have my mornings to myself. Like I wake up and I have tea and then I'll go to the gym, I'll go for walks, I'll do, you know, all the things that are physical activity. I just like to be able to move my body. That's like my number one thing is if I'm moving my body, that makes me feel, you know, that makes me feel like I'm embodying me because I am taking the time when I'm most physically energized to move my body.
That. Whew, that was great. I love it. I love it. I swear, I think that you are a soul sister from another lifetime. You
I
definitely
think
are.
so. I'm so happy about that. I love meeting soul sisters.
You know, like I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but I swear to you, I am the same. Like the mornings, like is like my sacred space. And if I'm able to do like if I meet with people like in the afternoon, I will, you know. Obviously, if I do the podcast interview like during this time, it's fine. But like actually for me, I'm my energy is the highest like at around 2 o'clock.
Is it really? That's so funny.
Yeah, so no,
And I feel like at 2 o'clock is my creative energy. So that's why I like to take my client calls and things like that because my space with my clients is to support them in their masterminding and maximizing their efficiency. So it takes a lot of creativity and a lot of making sure that it's aligning with them as well and problem solving. And I feel like that's where the time when I have the creative energy for that.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the way that we are creative is like if we're not filling our cup, how can we fill somebody else's cup? We can't.
Exactly.
We have to
Yes.
give to ourselves first, you know. And so you
Mhm.
were giving such a prime example of that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you say that because I think that especially like as moms, I don't know if you have kids, but I take my son to like a co-op school where there's other parents that are there with their toddlers and stuff. And one time the teacher asked us like, what do you do as parents for yourself, like to fill your cup? Like mind, body, and soul wise. And I said, well, I take baths, I go for walks, I go to the gym, I journal, I meditate, I had a huge list basically. And some of these moms, they had like one thing and they would do it like once a month.
Wow.
I was like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, we're not taught these things in school. We go to school to learn how to get a job. Nothing against education. Yes, do whatever you need to do. Obviously, getting a good education is important, right? But, they don't teach about spirituality and, self-care, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, and if we think about it, even just probably like 30 years ago, I mean, there was none of this really spirituality stuff. Now it's like huge, right? Like you see it left and right, like yoga, right? Like
Mhm.
people talking about spirituality, right? More books, more, we have the internet, right? So it's we have access to so many things, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. And I'm definitely feeling like you said, like now there's more on the lines of spirituality. I feel like there's a bit of a collective awakening at the happening right now. That's what I think. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like this pandemic that just happened, right? It was like people looking at different ways to, oh, like, oh, I don't have to be at a 9 to 5, right? Like I can work for myself. More people actually
Exactly.
want to work from home, right? There's still actually a lot of people, topic for another day, but still a lot of people really struggling mentally. I mean, the pandemic really had a huge impact on everyone on some level,
I
especially
think so.
our kids, like I've been seeing kids like it's just like do they even know how to communicate anymore, right? Because they're always on their tablets and no
Yeah.
judgment, no shame towards anyone. I'm just saying what I've observed, because I was telling you like I tutor a little bit of Spanish because I just have a few clients that I do a week and I tutor some of these kids and their attention span is like it's hard for them to even sit down for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and so we're just living in a different society, it's just really, um, wanting to bring that to light, that's why I love
Yeah.
holistic health because, there are solutions to, these attention deficit, and like these mental problems that we're having. There are root causes to things that we can heal. And so that's why I get so passionate about it, so.
Yeah, me too. And I definitely see that aspect that you're talking about. I think in the generation that had tablets for the first time, I think they probably had it the hardest because now at least my generation as a parent, like feel like I have a better understanding of screen time and even monitoring the screens itself, right? Like what they're watching on those screens. And I can be able to, let my son know, like, hey, we have access to screens, but we're gonna limit our time. Like we'll do 30 minutes, 1 hour, and then we're done. We gotta move on, And he understands that. And I feel like that's good for him, but a lot of people don't have that sense. And I think it's a really important thing to have, like you mentioned, because it's really affecting them and their cognitive development and just not just cognitive development, but everything, right? Like their physical bodies need to be moving more, things like that.
Yeah, I know it's such a deep topic. I mean, I literally probably could talk about that for like hours.
Too.
I just wanted to bring it to light, I mean, especially you understand because you're an incredible mom, you have two kids, and you're an entrepreneur, but I'm saying you being a mom, you see that, right? And obviously like the influence that the parents have, make a big influence. So again, no judgment, no shame towards any parents, but it's just like, can I just say one more thing? It's just like, when I'm not out and about, like let's say if I go to the mall or something, like I literally will be seeing 2-year-olds with the tablet or the cell phone and they're just like boom, like you do this, they don't even move, it's just like we have to be very, very careful of like you were saying, the screen time that we give our children because it's like if they're going to be attached to that at such a young age, like it just can it cannot be so good for the brain. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, but
Not
I
only
have a lot
that,
of
but
hope. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say the shows these days for the kids, like they're like extremely overstimulating versus the shows that even we would watch, when we were younger. Like those were not nearly as overstimulating as these ones.
Yeah, no,
So
exactly.
that's what's causing that, I feel like, inability to focus on anything else because they're so overstimulated in that one thing that they're putting all that focus in.
Yeah. But I have a lot of hope for humanity. It's just like I think that there will be a balance of things, but it's the decision
Yeah.
that we make. So
I think it takes things like this, like having these conversations and bringing it to light because some people just don't have that kind of education, to be able to support their kids in that way, maybe. And then having somebody that has that deep understanding and being able to bring that to light a little bit more is, I think, like you said, is that hope that we need.
yeah, exactly. I'll just end with this in regards to that topic. It's just like you made it a really good point, is that awareness, right? Like if we don't know, we don't know, right? Like there might be
Mhm.
some of these parents, maybe they're not aware that those tablets or the technology does that. Maybe they do that because they want their kid to shut up, like right, or whatever it is, right? Like so if we're not aware of something, then we don't know, right? So yeah. But yeah, this has been a really, really deep conversation. I really, really love what we've been talking about.
Yeah, thank you for this conversation. This was amazing. And I definitely look forward to having more amazing conversations with you like this.
Absolutely. I just had two short questions. Is that okay?
Of course. No, go ahead.
Okay. I just was gonna ask you, can you tell us a little bit about I don't remember if I asked you this. It's okay. I get so excited. So I'm like, did I? Your book. What is the name of your book?
Of course. I just published one last year. It's called Women Who Lead the Future of Entrepreneurship. That one's out already. It's on Amazon, or you can find it on my social links like Facebook and Instagram. I'm under I am Jen Lara.
Hmm.
Um, that book specifically, it's an anthology. So there's 30 authors in it, and it's about women who share their stories and talk about how they personally got into their businesses and what kinds of obstacles that they have to overcome, especially as females, right? Like we are a minority in our industries for the most part. There's a lot of gaps on the female side of things in terms of how much income we have, how much power we have in comparison to our male counterparts. And I think it's like you said, bringing that awareness and letting others know that, hey, there's some women that have overcome these challenges that you're probably facing right now, and it's totally possible to overcome them and see the light. And it's aligned, and essentially then it becomes your dharma,
Exactly.
like you talked about.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for that. That was really great. My last question for you is, how do you want to be remembered when you take your last breath?
I love that question because I just had that come up for me with my spiritual coach. And I said, I want to be remembered based on my energy and my healing energies that I've, you know, um, brought into the world, because that's what I realized, that that's my mission to the world, is to just come here and heal. And because I've spent so much time healing myself, that I said that's why I did that, because I was able, now I can support others in their healing journeys and just be part of that like guiding light that helps them overcome their challenges.
That's incredible. Well, I really want to thank you for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. I just want to open up the floor if you'd like to share any last words that come from your heart, or if not, that's fine too. But I just want to give you the floor one last time.
Thank you. And yeah, I think based on your theme of your podcast, like which I love, by the way, and I shared with you the story, and maybe I would love to share this last story
Yes,
with your
please.
audience and with
Yes,
our
please.
audience.
Yes.
About the happiness coming from within. When I met Janet, I shared with her this story because this was very this mission that she's on is very true to my heart, and I explained to her why, and I let her know that growing up, I looked at my parents, and to me, they always looked like they were like sad or depressed or anxious. And to me, they honestly, they looked like very miserable people,
Mm.
which is really sad for me because I'm a very positive person. I like to look at the bright side of things. I like to be happy, you know? So for me, that was really draining and really hard to see. And I think I made it my mission to be a happy, positive person for that reason, and bring more like positivity and light to the world. Um, but I like what I noticed with them, they were always looking for things outside of themselves. They were always looking for to accomplish things like buying a house and having the career and having the job and the money, like all the things outside and externally. And if they didn't have all the external things, then they felt defeated and they felt like maybe unworthy and things like that. And I find that really sad. And I I want to see more people that understand that, happiness actually comes from within. It doesn't come from all the external things like having a house and having the perfect career and having all the perfect, things that you desire to have in life. And yes, you can have all those things, but I think that they honestly they come as a byproduct of how you feel within. If you're grateful, if you're happy, if you're attracting the kind of energy that brings more of that, but if you're sad and you're always, looking for things externally to fulfill the happiness that, you can only really come from within, it's going to be very hard. So everyone listening, just try to try to find that happiness from within. Just look at the things that you have now, remind yourself of how abundant you are, how much abundance there is in the world, and realize that it's available to you as well.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I honor your presence and I want to thank you for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. How can people find you? Your information is going to be below.
Of course, yeah. So my website is www.iamjenlara. It's currently under construction, so don't judge me, but it's it's in the works. And but you can find me there, and you can find me on my social medias, Instagram, Facebook. They're all under I am Jen Lara. LinkedIn is under Jennifer Lara 509. So
Okay.
sounds a little different. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for being a guest here. And maybe if you come to LA in the future, we can do an in-person interview.
I would love that. Yes, I'll definitely be in LA. I'm actually planning on being there in September, so let's do it.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. Yeah, I have a studio that I work here in Culver City, so they're really great.
Perfect. That would be so fun.
Wonderful.